Okay, welcome to day 3. Let's get ready to work, work, work. Quick review. Okay, day 1, we talked about the Ashley method, ASHLEY, assets, savings are silly, high cash flow, loans are jobs. E is going to be for equity and employer, and Y, Yaris. Get you a Toyota Yaris before you go for the Ferrari. Okay, and then we talked about your life plan. We talked about aligning what you're doing in real estate investing to your life plan. And day 2 was a lot. We talked about mistakes that I don't want you to make. We talked about your readiness level, the 5 pillars that I think is going to make anyone successful, and just the level of obsession that you need to have. Okay. So let's get into day 3. This is where the work begins. We're going to talk about market research. We're going to talk about creating your buy box, deal flow, and your virtual team. I'm going to hit just a bit on deal analysis, just a bit, but don't worry because on day 4, we go really deep into deal analysis and we also talk about lenders and loans if that's going to be something that you decide to do. And of course, days 5, 6, and 7 are just, jam-packed. We have certification and inspections, we have virtual walkthroughs and repair estimates, tenant screening, vouchers. Day 7, we get into the blueprint to freedom. We're going to talk about owner financing and we got a lot to cover, okay? So let's get ready. Let's talk about market research. Your market research, as I mentioned in a previous video on this challenge, it has to be aligned to your exit, okay? I'm not going to get back on my soapbox. I talked about this already, but if you're telling me that your exit is high cash flow, right? Because you want to supplement your income or you want to use your asset to pay for some liabilities. Fine, but you better be in a market for high cash flow, right? And I don't mean be like live there. I mean, that's where you should be investing. Okay, so you got to get off this whole I want to invest in my backyard. I tell people all the time, I've only invested virtually for my rentals, Section 8 rentals. And think about it. If the pipe broke and something needed to happen, people are like, well, at least I'll be there. Now, what are you going to do? Suddenly turn into the Mario brothers, Mario and Luigi, and you're going to go and become a plumber all of a sudden? No. If the house is 2 hours away, 2,000 miles away, or 2 minutes away, you're not going to do anything other than what you would do for any of those properties. Take a 2-minute phone call to call a plumber. Or if you have a property management in place, they'll just be handling that anyway. So it has get off whatever myths you have about not investing virtually. It's 2025. Okay. Some of my clients live in other countries literally, and they invest here. So you have no excuse. All right, I digress. All right, so your market research is very simple. We're just going to start with a very basic search. I did this preliminarily on another video in this challenge, so I'm going to share my screen. And remember, 5 pillars. Okay, the 5 pillars: focus, organization, discipline, consistency, and then learn and immediately execute. So you're not sitting here watching this, like, oh, I'm gonna come back to it one day. No, this is where you need to pause and do it yourself. Pause and do it yourself, okay? All right, so let's do some market research here. So we are going to focus on high cash flow. I already showed you some markets where you can do that. But let's say you're like, you know, I just want to see what else is out there. You can just keep this general. You can just put anything for sale up to 50K. Home price, I'm sorry, home type. You want to narrow it down to houses, townhomes, and multifamilies. For this search, I'll just do houses so we don't get overwhelmed. And then I also have foreclosures and auctions taken off, only because foreclosures, you're gonna have to work with banks. It takes a very long time. Pre-foreclosure is really good because the seller still owns it. You can get a good deal. Foreclosure takes a long time. I would not recommend it. Auctions, you can. A lot of these are going to be auction sites and bidding. And again, I like predictability. What you don't want to do is get into a pissing contest with someone and then you overpay for a property because anyway, I'll just stick with my same search results here, okay? You want them for sale, you want them up to 50K. It's like, put something in here, girl. How about, I wonder if it'll just let me put A state. Oh, you have to do it by city? Let me try a state and see what happens. I don't know. I'm just gonna make up a state. Oregon. It took me to a city. It really wants you to do a city. Okay, whatever city you want to look up. I can tell you some popular ones for this method. Philadelphia is very popular. Detroit is very popular. Cleveland is popular. Memphis is popular. Um, Indianapolis is up and coming. You notice they're all in the Midwest. So if you're not in the Midwest and you want high cash flow, change that mindset. You can just put in your area if you want to. Oh man, I kind of want to do one I've never tried before. I've never done Memphis. Let's see what Memphis has. Now, if you come with me for coaching, we're going to my market because I like to use my team, my people, because I know it's going to get done right. But if you're like, hey, I'm just going to try to DIY this thing, then hey, do it wherever you'd like to. All right, so let's do Memphis. So we know that we want to have our properties up to 50K. Some of us can go up to 100K. And I'm seeing plenty. Now, I'm guessing these are not the best neighborhoods, right? That's something else we need to we'll talk about, but we'll talk about it when we get to your buy box. All right, I'm seeing plenty. Let's look up Memphis and see how much Section 8 is paying. So that's 38109. All we're doing is just looking around and seeing like, are these houses going to fit our budget? You know, is this a market where we can find houses under 50K? And this looks like an obvious yes. I'm moving scrolling down because I'm trying to see like as we get closer to 50K, are we gonna need less rehab or like what is it looking like? This is a brand new market for me. So clicking around. This one doesn't look too bad. It's been on the market for 202 days. I wonder why. They're definitely gonna be looking for a good deal. Okay. Digress. I'm getting into investor mode. This is teacher mode I should be in. Okay, so we're gonna look up the potential rents. What was it? 38109. So again, you can just Google FMR HUD and it'll take you where you need to go. I'll do that here, FMR HUD. You're like, oh man, we got to do real work today. Yes, because I really want you to be successful. And even though this is, just a challenge, it's not a full course or coaching or anything like that. I mean, you should leave here pretty much with everything that you need to go. All right, so we're looking up Memphis. I hope it doesn't ask me for the county because I do not know it. That's what I get for trying to be fancy. Oh, it's in Tennessee. Where are you, Tennessee? And then in Tennessee, we want Memphis. I don't know the names of their counties there. I hope it's just Memphis County. And that would have been too easy. Does it say the county over here? I'll just Google it. County. I love doing this stuff in real time so you can just see how easy it is. County for Shelby County. All right, I found it down here, Shelby County. So let's go to Shelby, good old Shelby. All right, and this property was 2 bed. Well, we would definitely want to look for a 3 bedroom. I just clicked on this one because we needed the address. We'll do this one. Okay, 3 bedroom. The reason why I say 3 bedroom, and this is based on my market, right? I'm just now looking at this market. But as you can see, sometimes there's a big difference between a 2 bedroom and a 3 bedroom, but not much difference between a 3 and a 4. So 3 bedrooms can sometimes be the sweet spot, but you can look for patterns, right? I don't know much about this market at all because we are just doing this together, but I know in most markets, 3 bedrooms seem to be the sweet spot. Okay, and this is 38114. 38114. Okay, 1540. Yes. Oh, and look at this difference between a 3 and a 4. Oh, baby, listen. I don't know if Memphis has attics like we have in Ohio, but typically we would just add another bedroom right up there and get that cash flow. What? Hey, y'all, we might be investing in Memphis. What we doing? Let me call my contractor and see if she can get something shaken down there. I like that. I like that a lot. Anyways, we're not here for that. The point is, I just did a random research on a market area just to get an idea of the cash flow versus the purchase price. And this is exactly what we're looking for, where you can purchase purchase the house extremely inexpensively, and then get high rents for them, which this one was showing, 1540 for a 3 bed and 1800 for a 4. So I might even go here. I'm trying not to go down a rabbit hole, but y'all gotta remember I'm an investor child, and when I see a good deal or a good area, Lord, I gotta go for it. Okay. Let me give myself a time limit so I don't go down a rabbit hole here. Okay, so if we know our top budget, let's say if our top budget is 50K, then we might want to look at some of these houses down here, like this one for 16,000, and then that way that gives us another $30,000 to get the house rehabbed and ready to go. Okay, you see what I'm doing there? If that's my max budget. If you're going up to 100,000, great, you have a lot more flexibility and you can change this. Okay. I know some people say, well, if I can go as low as 50,000, I'm just going to go as low as 50,000. Here's some advice, a tip, man. I wish I could remember to say this at some other point, but I'm saying it now. So if you're watching the full challenge like you should, you're getting this. There's a reason why. Number one, it's okay to do your first house like that. Your first house at 50K, 100%. Okay, 100%. But when you have houses that are 50K or below, let's say if down the line you want to do a cash out refi, a lot of lenders are going to have a minimum loan amount. So if you're buying houses that are worth less than 75K, less than 100K, then later on when you want to refi, you could be putting yourself in a box where you cannot, and that house can only cash flow. Nothing wrong with that. I have plenty of houses that their only job is to cash flow. But if you're going to be doing this method, I would say sprinkle in a couple of them that are 100K plus. That way, you know for sure you can refi out if you need to in case of an emergency, or if you just want to pull it out to buy another house or for whatever reason. So that is why when people say, well, I'm just going to keep buying the cheapest ones. Listen, we got to think everything through. If it was that simple, don't you think we would all just do that? Okay. All right. Anyway, I got to get off of this because I am like excited. Some other things you can look for market research, you can look up the crime rates. You can just do a simple Google search for crime rates in the area if that's important to you. But let's make it make sense. If you're buying a house this inexpensively, you can almost guarantee that it is going to be in a neighborhood that is not graded highly. Yes, neighborhoods have grades. They are graded by typically the city appraiser. And for instance, a neighborhood grade of like A tier 1, that is going to be like extremely affluent, maybe like gated communities. They have the best of the best schools. They have, probably like a Whole Foods down the street or something like that. Like the yards are kept very nice. Landscaping is impeccable. Mostly owners live in that area. I can literally do a whole class on this. I got so much I need to share and teach, but time. Okay, oh my gosh. Okay, and then the grades go down. So the grades can go down to as low as a D. And so you have B, C. B is going to be like still nice, upper middle class, still nice schools, things like that. When you get to C, you start seeing like more working class, more renters in the area. It's different. And when you get to D, D is likely mostly renters. It is likely you see the landscaping here is not going to be any fancy landscaping. This might be a neighborhood where they have maybe local grocery stores, but they might not even have a Walmart. You might have to go to like a C neighborhood to have the Walmart in your neighborhood. Crime is typically going to be a bit higher in these D level neighborhoods. So just keep that in mind if that's important to you. For me, I don't care, right? If that is where my tenants want to live and they choose to live there, I do not judge people on how they live and what they do because I have walked so many different journeys in this life. And, being on the board of the YMCA, where we help a lot of people who are impoverished, people who are immigrants, people who literally come from nothing. So to them, this is like, might be like a mansion. You know what I mean? You don't get to judge other people and how they live their lives. You provide a property, you provide, a service, and you let people live their lives. Even when I have properties in D neighborhoods, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to stop it after this. I still do every single house nicely. Number one, that's just having morals and ethics, right? For someone moving into a property or providing. Number two, you're going to have a minimum because you're going to have to pass a Section 8 inspection. But number three, I have found that people's environment have a huge impact on their mental, their mindset, and how they treat your property. So if they see that you treat your property nicely, they are going to slide right in and treat your property nicely. And some small things are like, I don't want to get ahead of myself because I know we're going to be doing some inspections and talking about, how we do the rehabs and stuff later on in the challenge, but just small things like add backsplash. It's an extra tile. I mean, it's an extra dollar per tile. You only need like 20 tiles, but that backsplash just makes it pretty, or just small little upgrades, maybe a small little accent wall, but something, that when they walk in that house, it's like they have pride in it. Okay. So those are other things you can research. You can research the schools nearby. You can research resources nearby. For instance, if I'm in like a D neighborhood or something like that, I might want to make sure that they have access to transportation. I mean, it's not my job to make sure they have access to transportation, but I know that would make it easier for my tenant to want to stay longer if they have access to transportation. But you see what I'm saying, right? You get where I'm going. Okay, so once you have your market research down, this is easy. It took us a couple minutes. I talked through most of it. Now we want to talk about our buy box. Now, I just stopped at Memphis, right? You can do this as much as you need to. You can compare it to as many areas as you need to. And again, if you're going to be working with me, the benefit is you're already going to have my market. You're already going to have everybody who's already well versed in that market. If you ask me to coach you in a different market, no problem. You still have access to my team. So what that looks like is if you're looking for a contractor, then my contractor will likely start helping you to look for contractors, helping you vet them, screen them, giving you tints. We're not tinting any windows, giving you tips and gems on how to do that best. So no matter where you decide to do it, we have a level of support for you. But of course, I like it when people work with me and my team directly because I've been in leadership for a long time and I like to have predictable results. Okay. All right. So let's say you compared a couple of them and you narrowed it down and this is what you like. Okay, now we're going to create a buy box. Trust me, it's all going to come together. I mentioned buy box in another video and I told you I'd show you. Buy box can be very simple. So this is ours. This is the area we want to be in. This is, the range that we want to stay in. We're looking for single family. This is our budget. Here's our requirements. Let me break down some of these numbers just preliminarily, but again, I have entire courses and classes dedicated to just breaking down numbers and deal analysis. And I know this is just supposed to like be a tap and go. So, okay, I won't get lost in it, maybe. Okay, so 65% ARV. ARV is the after repair value, have it up here. And that just means, let's say we bought this house here for $21,000. But when we ran the comps, we know that this house is actually worth $80,000 once it's rehabbed. Okay, so that is what ARV means, how much the house is worth after it's rehabbed and ready to go. And you want it to be at 65% ARV, especially if you're using loans. If you're not using loans, again, I said without a loan, it's like a Toyota Yaris, right? You have so much wiggle room and space, but loans are like a Ferrari. I mean, it has to be precise to the T. There's not much room for error there. So the 65% just make sure that you can refinance out of your hard money loan into a DSCR loan or another long-term rental loan. And you can do that comfortably. So typically lenders are going to do between maybe at the high a 70 to 75% cash out. Some will let you go 80% if you have experience. And so this is just giving yourself some wiggle room for that refi. And then the 75%, if it's already where it needs to be, is because you probably won't need to get a hard money loan. You can just go straight to a DSCR product or some other long-term loan if it's already turnkey. So you don't need, and you won't really be able to refi out of a house that's already at its highest and best value. So that 75% still gives you some, equity and some extra room on there if you need it. So that's where that comes from. Year built, In this particular market, there is a lot of rules, regulations, and laws around houses built before 1978, but it's also a market where like 90% of the houses are built before 1978. So we still want older, but if it's older, obviously we want a discount because we're gonna have to now do all of this new lead testing and compliance, which don't worry, I'm gonna show you all of that, okay? We want at least 3 bedrooms. Remember, we talked about 3 bedrooms being the sweet spot for some of these um, housing authority areas, market areas, and or a 2 bedroom because we can and with an attic because we can add a 3rd bedroom for a lot of the properties in the Midwest. We have attics up there, and it's very easy to do that conversion. And my contractor is a beast at it, and it makes you so much money. I mean, look at Memphis, right? We just looked at that property for a 3 bedroom, it was 1540. I'm getting almost an extra, what, $250 here for an extra bedroom where all I had to do was add a closet. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? If you're new, you're probably like, no, it's not a no-brainer. Sorry about that. I apologize. Okay. And then you might have some cash flow requirements. Now, this you know, you can add this on there. I can tell you a lot of your wholesalers or realtors will honor this. This is like kind of you have to vet this yourself, right? Making sure that it's going to meet your minimum cash flow, making sure you're going to have your expenses if you're going to use a loan already accounted for. And then these are some other things that you can just let them know this is what I'm going to be looking for. And this could also just be for your team so that they understand, like I want low vacancy and strong rental demand. Well, that means you're probably going to be in a C or D neighborhood, right? For that, if you want a strong rental demand or for your tenant pool, you can tell them I want 3+ bedrooms and Section 8 friendly. Really, that just means if that wholesaler or realtor who's sending it to you, they might have some background knowledge on what the Section 8 inspection process looks like, and they can just be a little bit more careful when sending you turnkey properties to make sure it's going to fit Section 8. Because turnkey doesn't really mean turnkey, especially if you're going to be using the Section 8 program. Okay, and then exit strategies. These are some exit strategies that we already talked about, but we're going to be holding on for rental income. So your buy box can be extremely simple. It does not have to be, super fancy or anything like that. You're probably going to ask if you can have an example of this. Sure. I just don't want to forget that I just said yes. How can I fix that? Yes, you can have it. Let me figure out a way for you to get it without it being tedious. Maybe I'll send a link in the email. I'll send the link in the email when I send you out this video, and you should be able to have access to this. Okay. All right, let's talk about your virtual investment team. Let me make sure I'm staying on this correctly. Okay. So obviously when you work with me as your coach, all of these people are already in place for you, and they are all experienced, they are all experts, you will have access to all of them. They will teach you. I mean, this will be like you will be getting the master's class in investing when you work with my team. No, it doesn't just have to be Section 8. It's just since we do a lot of Section 8, our people do regular rentals, but they also are very well versed in Section 8. So you can take a look at this. Okay. You're a local realtor. Local means not local to you, but local to the market where you're going to be investing. Hit or miss. I can tell you, I have never, I don't want to say never, maybe only 1% of the time found a realtor who works well with investors. That's just the truth. When realtors go to get their license, they're not taught how to work with investors. So unless they're working under a brokerage that works heavily with investors, they wouldn't even have experience to do so. So, realtors sell at retail. As an investor, you want to buy less than retail so it can be profitable for you. But wholesalers are a different story. Wholesalers, I work with often, all the time. I even wholesale some properties from time to time when I cannot keep them. And I started my real estate investing journey as a wholesaler. So, wholesalers, I 100% recommend. They're going to send you off market deals. Their fees are already accounted for in the price that they send you. So, you don't have to worry about like commissions and brokerage fees and all of the other stuff when working with realtors. It's already locked in there. But I will say all wholesalers are not built the same, so build relationships with them, get to know them. I've had some really good, educated wholesalers who were also investors, who were great, who had big businesses. I also, worked with some one-off wholesalers who, you know, didn't seem, very well educated, but they got the deal done. So work with who you work with. I'm going to come back to something else on wholesalers in a second when we get to deal flow. Okay, your general contractor, obviously, right? They're going to manage your property renovations and ensure your Section 8 compliance if you're going the Section 8 route. This is one of the key players. Your GC is one of the key players. That's why people who don't work with me, I do not share my GC because I need my GC to be working with me and my clients. Like they are just too valuable to just give away. Like they are, because some contractors get a bad name, right? They don't do the job well, or they're overpriced, or they don't finish on time, or you can't get a hold of them. Like when you find one that's communicative, stays on budget, is an investor themselves, so they get it plugged into the market, they have crews and teams that can support you, like keep them and hold them. And if you're looking for one, a general contractor, let me tell you what to do. Find one that's already working. Because if they're already working on a project, you know that they actually show up. So what you can do is you can get into Facebook groups and ask people who they're using. You can go to, what do we used to use? Homewise.com. Angie's List, I think it has a new name now. Thumbtack. Actually, I used to own a painting construction company, and we used to post on Thumbtack to get clients, and I liked it because clients could leave feedback and reviews, like real reviews. So that's one thing I like about Thumbtack. I think Angie's List does that as well, if I'm not mistaken. But get one that's already working, because then you kind of know they're already showing up. Talk to other landlords in that area. I mean, you got to get plugged in. If you're going to be investing in a market where you do not live, join a Facebook group with other investors from that area. That way you can kind of keep your ear to the ground. Almost every single city has a RIA, a Real Estate Investing Association. And so usually they have a monthly meeting. Just go to the monthly meeting or get on their email list. That way you can, kind of stay abreast, and you can start seeing who people are using for contractors. For your handyman, same. Now, I'm lucky enough to where, since my general contractor has like a sizable business, they already have handymen that come and they can do things very quick. Sometimes they don't even charge. Like they're just like, we just came out. We just had to, tighten up a pipe or something. Like it's no problem. But your handyman is good because they're not as expensive as a general contractor. They usually know a whole lot about a bunch of stuff, so they can come in and fix a bunch of stuff all at the same time. So you want to have a good relationship with them. Um, Sometimes I even give like my tenants the handyman's number directly for properties when when I'm self-managing. Um, your property manager. Now you want them to have Section 8 experience, because managing a regular property and a Section 8 property, although they have many similarities, there are some differences, especially when you get into the uh-ohs that you don't expect, like an eviction, or the deposit, or how the payments, work. Like get someone who's already well versed in Section 8 if you're going to go the Section 8 route. If you're going to go the cash route, you still want someone who understands your market. So a good example is, if you're going to be investing in neighborhoods graded C or D, but your management company works with properties that are graded A, I mean, the demographics are so different. I don't want to say they couldn't do it. I would just say I would want somebody well versed in that same area. There's a certain, I don't want to say anything that sounds crazy or biased. I'll just say, if I have properties in a D neighborhood, I want to have a property manager who's comfortable managing properties in a D neighborhood. I had a situation where a property management company refused some of our properties because they were in a certain neighborhood, so I like that. I like that that property management company had standards on this is what we do, this is what we don't do. But some, they might just try to get everybody or anybody they can, but that doesn't mean they're going to be able to serve you and your tenants best. So definitely find a property management company that can handle it. You don't need one though. I mean, it's 2025. You can definitely self-manage. Definitely. My mentor self-managed and she had, I mean, hundreds of properties. I self-managed many times. I only started really getting property management when I started partnering with other people and, accepting investor funds. But before that, I mean, it's really not rocket science. Um, But if you're busy like 9 to 5, and you're like, I really don't have time for it, just get the property management company. The way I'm teaching you to do it with the Ashley method, you have so much cash flow. There is plenty of money for you to afford a property management company. Okay, tenant placement agent. Again, all of these people I already have in my ecosystem if you're going to be working with me. But your tenant placement agent is important. They're also known as a leasing agent, which could be like a local realtor also. But what I like about the tenant placement agent is they can do a lot of the background stuff, right? Like the one that I like, the one that's on our team, she is not only well versed in Section 8, but other vouchers. So she has relationships with a lot of people, a lot of organizations. She personally meets the tenants. She takes them on a tour of the property. She gets to know them. She vets them. She has her own standards. And of course, I still like to, do a final interview of like maybe her top 3 candidates. I told you guys before, it's still your house. Like, you can have the placement person, but at the end of the day, all they can say is, hey, I placed it. I filled your vacancy. You're stuck with that tenant. Not stuck with, but they're your responsibility. So anyway, get you a tenant placement agent or a leasing agent. And you want to make sure, again, that they are familiar with the Section 8 program if that's what you're going to be using for high cash flow. You definitely want a Section 8 inspector contact. It might not necessarily be someone currently working for Section 8, but it might be someone who formerly worked for Section 8. You can just Google that. But you want that because all properties have to pass inspection and it's going to help you with your budget. So like my Section 8 inspector contact works hand in hand with our general contractor. So when we're having a property walkthrough before we even, buy it, she can go in and say, okay, these are the things that are going to need to get fixed in order to pass inspection. So now we're just repairing the house based on those standards instead of over rehabbing it and we didn't even need all of that stuff, or under rehabbing it and then now we can't even pass the inspection. And then right before our official inspection, we still have her come out and do like a pre-inspection for us just to make sure that we did everything right and up to standard. And that is going to help you pass the inspection faster, which means you get your money faster, right, from cash flow. And I think another thing too is if you have, not I think I know, if you have a loan, you still have to make those loan payments, even if you're not getting cash flow from a tenant yet. So you really, remember Ferrari? Ferrari, if you have a loan, that means you have a Ferrari. You have a very small window. Everything needs to be right and perfect, and the timelines, everything has to align. So it's going to be very important for you if you are using a loan. Again, us people with cash who buy the Yaris, Toyotas or whatever route, we still want to pass. We still want to do everything right, but we do have a little bit more wiggle room. And then, of course, you want to have a title company or real estate attorney. You want to make sure that, I mean, they have their own standards, and a lot of theirs are standardized across title companies. So they're just going to do like your title check, your title commitment. They'll facilitate the closing. That's where your earnest money deposit will go. If you're inheriting a tenant, they'll make sure that the security deposit goes to you from the previous owner, things like that. Insurance broker, oh my God, important, okay? You got to have insurance, first of all, and you want someone who is well-versed in working with investors, because retail, when I say retail, that means like your personal house, right? You have a different standard for insurance for your personal house versus your rental property. So when people are talking about the myth that people are going to tear your house up, these Section 8 people, blah, blah. Number one, they don't, because you pick your tenant, right? You're going to screen and vet them. But let's say if that happened, you want to have an insurance product that, okay, cool, you tore it up, no problem. Pay my little deductible and insurance will take care of it, fine. or you also can do a home warranty, right? Where you get a home warranty for investors or rental properties. And that way, if the appliances break, it's covered, or, if a window or something needs to be replaced, it's covered. They have so many different packages. They even have packages that covers electronics, all that stuff, hey, whatever. You don't need all of that, but with all the cash flow you get, you can. But anyway, you want an insurance broker that's really good at landlord policies. I have a list of questions and a list of criteria that I like when I'm looking at new insurance brokers. But once you find a good one, just stay with them. A lot of them have multiple licenses across different states anyway. All right, if you're going to be going with a loan, you can either get a private lender. You can like have friends, family, or other investors invest with you. Or you can do hard money and then refinance out into a DSCR loan. Again, you are in the Ferrari zone when you are doing this. So many things have to go right. So many things, but sorry, you're not asking me about that right now. So basically, when you buy a house that needs work, you can do a fix and flip loan or a hard money loan. You're typically going to see much higher interest rates. I've seen them up to 12%. And sometimes they do interest only payments. Sometimes they'll fund the rehab costs, like up to a certain percentage of it. And then once you finish your rehab, you're going to refinance out into a DSCR loan. A DSCR loan is debt service coverage ratio. It's just making sure that the monthly rents can cover your monthly payment, interest, taxes, and insurance. Okay. And that's at that time, because again, taxes and insurance can increase, and then if that happens later on, you can be in a little bit of trouble there. But anyway, these are good. They're better than bank loans because they are much faster. They ask for way less documentation. But of course, they are a little bit more expensive than a bank. Could you just use your bank or your credit union or something like that? Absolutely. Absolutely, you could. Virtual assistant, you really don't need this until you like start having more and more and more properties. That's when you might want to consider it. But even if you have like a property management company already, then you probably won't need this. This is for people who are going to go and like do this big and, buy multiple properties or buy portfolios and things like that. Then you might want to get a VA. And you can just hire them to just have like some systems and automations in place for you. For example, when you're looking for tenants, you can have them like have a form that all tenants fill out that goes into a Google sheet or something. Or you can have an automated monthly email going out to your tenants, just checking in or something like that. When you're doing all the HAP paperwork for Section 8, you can have them pre-filling it out for you, things like that. But you don't need that quite yet. But you do need an accountant or a CPA who understands rental investments. Okay, I mean, there's so many beautiful tax breaks that you get as a real estate investor. You want to make sure that you're maximizing them. So you want to use them in two ways. You want to use them for tax strategy, meaning while you're in the process of buying the house, you can call and say, let's do strategy. Hey, I'm buying the house for this amount. This is my plan with it. What do you think is the best way to do this? And then you use them later on for like your tax prep, and your strategy and your prep should be aligned. Okay. So essentially that's who you're going to need on your team. When you work with me, we have all of these people in place and then some, because we also have like all of the contracts that you need, all of the contacts that you need with the city, and all of that stuff we already have. But if you're going to be going the DIY route, make sure you have this, okay? I feel like I talked about that for a long time. Give me a second, let me get a drink. Okay, last thing before I shut this one down. Let's talk a little bit about deal flow. And we'll do deal analysis on one of the other days. So this is a wholesaler that I use, and I sent them my buy box, and they sent over deals that meet the buy box. And as you can see, they have quite a few. And as you can see here, all of them meet my buy box. They're 150 or less. Here you have photos or walkthroughs. Is it vacant, or am I going to be inheriting a tenant? Excuse me. Basement, garage. I would love if they had a tab here for attic, but pretty much every house in these areas do, so it's okay. Square footage is important. We'll get into that another day in our challenge, because I'm going to show you a quick formula to use the square footage to calculate or estimate the repairs. Just a quick down and dirty estimate. But anyway, as you can see, this person has deals in Detroit, looks like Dayton, Columbus, Toledo, Indiana. So this might be, a little sneak peek into some markets that this wholesaler may foresee that are up and coming. Check them out. Now you know how to do market research, so I want you to check it out. Okay, so practice. When you come back for tomorrow, I want you to have already researched some markets. I want you to have some preliminary information on it. I want you to have an idea of your buy box, and I want you to practice it. Okay, you can also start now joining some Facebook groups. You can join like wholesalers in whatever market area you choose, and start getting on their email list so that they can start sending you properties that meet your buy box. If you don't have the buy box yet, that is no reason. That's still no reason not to get in those Facebook groups and get started and at least have people starting to send you deals. You now know what you need or who you need on your virtual team. So you can start going into Facebook groups for other investors in your area and start like kind of seeing who they work with. Do some Google searches. You can do social media searches nowadays and see which contractor has the TikTok that you like. I don't know. All right, but don't forget your 5 pillars of success, guys. So important. Focus. Your focus should be on what you said your life plan was. And your life plan should be aligned to what is your desire in your heart? How do you see yourself living your life? Organization. We're going to be working on that on your blueprint, where we take everything that you say you want and we're going to make it into a nice, neat blueprint that you can follow with baby steps. The third thing that you need is discipline. Discipline is learning about your industry, right? But it's also doing what is on that plan. Whatever you put on organization in your plan, that's what you should be doing every day. And the fourth pillar is consistency. Okay, that means you're doing it whether you feel like it or not, because it's going to start helping you build really good habits. And finally, I want to make sure that you are learning and executing at the same time. That's why I don't separate those two. Number 5, learn and execute. We just did a lot of things right now that you can learn and begin to execute right now. Guys, if we're doing this just on this challenge, could you imagine the courses? But that's just where I just really break things down into very small steps. Today we worked hard, okay? So let's get ready for tomorrow. And investing is as easy as ABC. Okay, get Ashley, get her blueprint, get her coaching. That is all you need. Okay, I will see you guys later. Don't forget your homework, and I won't forget to put that checklist in your email. All right, bye guys.